Hello and welcome to episode 99 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is June 14th, 2021. Today I'm wearing a lace shawl that I knit as part of a knit along with my YouTube channel and my Ravelry group, and the pattern is called Haruni. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's been a pattern that I've wanted to knit for a very long time, and this knit along finally made me knit the pattern. And I used opal sock yarn, but I didn't use the normal sock weight yarn or fingering yarn, but it's what they call a 3-ply, and it's more like a lace weight yarn. It's the same material as sock yarn, so it's 75% wool and 25% nylon, and you can knit socks with this yarn, but I've always wanted to knit a lace shawl with it because it's lighter and thinner than the normal sock yarn, and I'm really happy with it. I like the bright colors. Because of the colors, the pattern isn't as visible as it could be, but I think you can still tell there's this there's a small repeat pattern in the main body of the shawl, and then there's these big leaves on the edge, and I decided to put beads into the edge of the shawl because I just love to have beads in my shawls. So this is the Haruni shawl. Free pattern, very fun to knit, and I did some tutorial videos how to knit this shawl. It's in German, but maybe it can help you. I mainly made it because it's an English pattern, and I translate the pattern into German. So if you know English, you can read the pattern yourself. It won't be a problem. And if you don't know how to do something, then maybe just looking at the video might help you, even if you can't follow the German. And you'd have to look on my German YouTube channel, Kikos Strickschule, but I link to that underneath the video usually. Yeah, so that's the shawl. And the dress I'm wearing is crocheted out of 100 Farbspiele yarn. It's a German company, and they make this these color gradient yarn balls. The one there on the shelf, that's the same kind of yarn. And this yarn went from this light pink all the way to the dark red that I used to crochet around the top here, and then you have those colors in between. So it's a really fairly long dress, and I'm really, really happy with it. And now we have the weather to be wearing these light cotton dresses. It's half cotton, half acrylic, so it's easy to care for and nice to wear, and I like it a lot. Yeah, so that's what I'm wearing today. Then on to finished objects. I have one proper finished object and one slightly weird one. I'll tell you in a moment. But my proper finished objects are my Yael socks. So these are socks that I knit the first one 3 years ago, and then did the cuff of the second sock and then stopped knitting on them because I had planned to write down the pattern, but now that Mina Philipp published her Paris socks, which have almost the same pattern, I decided not to write it down so I could finish. So I just finished the second sock, and they're finally done. And because the bottom of the dress is dark red, I could even wear these socks with this dress if I wanted warm socks with the cotton dress. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm really happy that they're done. The heel is different from Mina's socks, and the toe is different from her pattern. And also she put all those flowers in one row, and then another row of flowers, and then a space in between them, like parallel, but I offset them like this. Yeah, but basically it's the same kind of flower, it's the same kind of pattern. And if you want to knit something like this, you can look at her pattern and then just place the flowers slightly differently. The yarn is sock yarn by Filda, a French company that I used to sell. Not selling it anymore, but it's still a nice yarn. Yeah, so the second finished object is actually another pair of socks. But the reason it's sort of a weird thing is that most of those socks I did not knit. So I'll show you the socks. This is what they look like. And the only bit that I have knit is on the second sock from here to the finish, to the toe. So the complete first sock and most of the second sock was knit by somebody else. And that was back when I was still working in a yarn shop here in Germany. And we sold that yarn back then. And this customer had knit like 1.5 socks, and then she came and complained because the colors came out differently. So if you look closely, she really took care that the stripes line up and that she started at the same point in the color repeat. And there's no knot in the yarn. There wasn't. I couldn't find a place where she wove in any ends, so the yarn just kept going. But if you look here, instead of this dark stripe, there was another light stripe. And then it matches again, but she stopped knitting round about here. And she pulled out the needle, she returned the yarn, and she complained about it. And she got a new ball of yarn from us and left the socks, the unfinished socks with us. And basically we were supposed to throw it away, and my colleague said, it'd be stupid to throw it away. She gave it to me, said, finish them, and then you can do whatever you want with the finished socks. And I took them home, and I meant to finish them, and I never did. So for years, they were lying around at my home. And then when I started my shop, I took them here, and I thought, if you have a bit of free time in between customers, you can finish the socks. And I never did. And because I put them in some kind of box, I forgot about them. And then during the time that I wasn't really allowed to have my shop open because of COVID, I opened this box and I realized I still have these unfinished socks. And I finally put some needles in and I continued knitting. And it's quite interesting that those stripes again line up. And then again, the dark one is missing. And then it almost lines up, but then at the tip of the toe, there's this light color that's not in this sock. So I don't mind, they're not the same. I mean, I can't wear them anyway. They were way too big for me. So I will have to give them to somebody else. I don't know who yet. But, and she knit a sort of cable pattern that I had to figure out how to do. So it would be the same on both socks. I thought if the colors aren't the same, maybe it's good if the pattern at least is the same. Yeah, and she did the decreases in the toe a little different from how I am used to doing them, but I tried to copy the way she did them exactly so they would look the same. And now, after years and years and years, I finally have a finished pair of socks that I can give away to somebody. So these are my finished objects. On to works in progress. And I will continue with socks. I continued knitting on the blue stockings from blue stockings by Kate Davies. The pattern is called Elizabeth Montague, and it's this beautiful lace pattern. And as I said last week, once I finished this bit of the pattern, they were long enough for me to start the heel increases. So that's what I've done. I haven't done a whole lot, but you can see there are some increases here and there are increases on the other side as well. And I will have to knit, I will have to finish this bit of the lace pattern and then some part of the next bit. And then I've finished the increases and then I will have to see how things go on. But I really like the pattern. It's easy to knit once you know how it works. And the increases aren't difficult. I just have to sit down and put the work into it. Yeah, But one of the reasons I didn't knit a lot on these socks, and I didn't knit on the Sweet Rose #2 socks, the green socks from the last round of the Sockmadness, because the next round of the Sockmadness has started. So we're into round 6 now, and I'm a cheerleader. I didn't make it in time last round to go on, so I'm a cheerleader now, but I still wanted to knit the next pattern. The pattern is called Madeline or Madeline, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and it's again with leaves. So I feel that this year's Sockmadness is very botanical, so many leaves and flowers. It's quite interesting, but it's the reason that I again decided to use green, but as the background color I chose this brown by Opal from their Rainforest series. So for me this is like the tree trunk, and then I use this bright green for the leaves, and this is what I have knit so far. It's again a really long leg, and I just started knitting without thinking about it, and after a while I wondered if it was possible to knit a shorter leg, but the thing that I should have done is start at a different point in the chart to have a shorter leg, and as I didn't do that, I will have to finish the whole chart. And then because the pattern runs into the heel and into the toe, this is what makes this pattern so really special. So it's an all over color. It's not like one motif, but yeah, it's an all over color work sock. That's what I'm trying to say. You start off with knitting a few rounds stockinette, then one round of purl stitches, and then you knit so many rounds of the pattern, and then you flip it over and you knit the next row together with a cast on. So this is a folded edge. It's a very neat beginning to the sock, I think. And then these are the floats, and the pattern says or suggests to use the leather back method, something like that. I've never done that before, and I didn't feel like doing it. I just catch my floats every now and then to make sure they're never longer than 4 stitches, or sometimes 5 at the maximum, but usually it's just 2 or 3 stitches, so I think it's not too bad for putting the socks on and taking them off. And yeah, I really like the pattern. It's very elegant looking, I think, and the interesting thing is that it doesn't really ever repeat, so that's why you can't just stop in a different space, but it always changes and it's always different. And I really do want the pattern to flow into the heel and the toe the way it's written, because it's really beautiful. With the toe, there are 3 different lengths that we can knit. I was thinking of doing the smaller size, but it depends on how short it is, because they are fairly wide, and I don't want them to be too short and wide. It wouldn't make sense. So I'll decide on that when I get there, which will probably take some time. I'm quite impressed that so many people have already finished their socks. They must have been knitting day and night. So I spent quite a bit of time knitting this, and I'm not even at the heel yet. Yeah, but that's the next Sockmadness round. That's it for socks, but not for sock yarn. So I will continue with the shawl that I'm knitting as part of the pattern battle Musterschlacht. So this is the Opal subscription yarn, and this is this beautiful color that was chosen for this round of the pattern battle, and I decided to knit a shawl as I have 2 of those 2 balls in that color, and I'm knitting the Town Square shawl by Romy, and I cast on all the stitches for the top of the main triangle of the shawl, and I finished the chart A for the first time. You have to knit it several times. I'm not quite sure how often, but I knit it once now. Oh dear, that's what happens. These are the stitches for the short rows that I'm not knitting, and they are supposed to stay on the other needle. and the needle just keeps coming out of the stitches because they're quite loose. But anyway, so this is the edge of the triangle, and this is the pattern that I've knit. This bit's really blue, there's no green at all. Here's some more green. Yeah, so it's not too much, but still quite a lot of stitches, so it takes time to do that. But I really like the look of it, and I really enjoy knitting it. I just have to look at the chart for the first few stitches and the last few stitches, and then in between it repeats. It's not very difficult. I can just do that in front of the TV or while I'm talking, or yeah. So this is the Town Square shawl. Really enjoy knitting it, and I'm really happy to be knitting a shawl again. For some reason I haven't been knitting shawls in the last couple of weeks or months. Yeah, and then the next sock yarn project is my Glacier Tunic or dress that I am knitting. It's a pattern by Haruni Shawl. I'm using 5 different colors of opal sock yarn. I finished the yoke, and I have finished both sleeves. I think I was still knitting the second sleeve last week, so I've finished both sleeves. And so this was color 1, and this bit is color 2, and then this bit down here is color 3. And as you can see, this was the second sleeve, so the transition from color 2 to color 3 is a lot more obvious in this sleeve than it was on that one. And those dark stripes are offset, which I think is quite nice. And I have started knitting the front and back. So I'm back to color 2, and I've knit like this bit on the front and back, and I will have to knit quite a few more rounds until I go from color 2 to color 3. So my plan is to do approximately the same length that I did on the sleeve on the front and back, maybe a little shorter, and then I'll change to color 3. And I still want to add in color 4 and 5, so that's why I may do a little less of the color 2 than I did in the sleeve, to make sure I can add in all the colors without the dress hitting the floor. So that's the plan. Yeah, so that's my dress. And then I started something new. So I have 2 new projects this week, and I've only finished one, so not too good, but it's okay. So the Sockmadness sock was the first new project, and then this is the second new project, and it's another pullover, or it's a pullover, but it's for a child. And I told you that the shawl I was wearing, I put it down because it's too warm, was the lace weight opal sock yarn, and the pullover I'm knitting now, I'm using 2 different balls of this thinner yarn. So this is opal sock yarn, but it says 3-ply. So for 75 grams you have 425 meters, and the balls of yarn are only 75 grams because that's what you need to knit a pair of socks because of the yardage. And I am using those 2 colors. So it's going to be a boy's sweater, and it's for the son of a friend of my sister's and mine, and they have 2 boys, and I'm knitting for one of the sons and my sister is knitting for the other one. And we're both using this color, and I'm using for the older one, and I chose this as the second color, and my sister's using this color with a different color for the little one. And I have finished knitting 1 sleeve. So this is what the yarn looks like when you hold the 2 yarns together. This is what it knits up like. I think it's quite nice. I think it looks like a little boy. I'm pretty sure he likes to wear jeans, so I think the blue will look nice with whatever he has. He's 3 years old, so it's a fairly small one. I finished the first sleeve, and this is the beginning of the second sleeve. So the colors are completely different. which is what I like. And I am knitting the Pullover Heartstring. It's a pattern that was part of an ebook that you could buy, and all the money that they got for selling this ebook was donated to help fight malaria. And it's not longer available. Most of the patterns of the ebook you can buy from the designers, but from what I've seen, Haruni Locatelli does not seem to be offering this pattern by itself. So I'm not quite sure if you can get the pattern. It's basically a very simple pullover with a round yoke, and in her pullover she added a contrast color into the yoke. I'm not going to do that because this is so colorful in itself, and this is why we picked this pattern, because we wanted something simple. So because of the colors, it's so busy already. And I haven't knit any of the other pullovers in the ebook, but I've always wanted to do that, and maybe someday I'll get round to doing that. Yeah, so that's all the clothes I am knitting at the moment. I have not worked on my vest in Vested. I will have to make that a priority at some point to make sure it gets done. But I have crocheted on the dinosaur blanket, and that's really important. I really want to have that done by the summer holidays at the latest. And I have started attaching squares. And this is what it looks like at the moment. So as you can see, it's, so the squares are on their points. I don't know how to say that. And the blanket will be 3 dinosaurs wide and 4 dinosaurs high. And in between the dinosaurs I have the full squares, and then on the sides I will put in the triangles that I have crocheted. And as you can see, all 4 dinosaurs that I have crocheted together so far do not have their horns yet. So these are supposed to be little triceratopses, so they'll get 1 horn here and then 1 here and 1 there. I still have to crochet those and attach them. But I have started the assembly, and I'm really happy about that. So this is one of the priorities at the moment, and I hope to have more pieces attached to this by next week. That brings me to our knit-alongs, and I have done a little work on both knit-alongs. So the first knit-along is the dishcloth knit-along, and I have started a new pattern, and I forgot to write it down. I think it's something like 2-sided dishcloth. I linked to the pattern page underneath the video, and in the project notes I write down the patterns that I'm using for my dishcloths. But the idea with this dishcloth is that you knit half a square until it's big enough to be half a dishcloth, and then you knit another half. And then what you do is you put 1 half with the right side on top, and then the other half you put with the wrong side on top, and then you sew them together. You use the Kitchener stitch to sew them together, and then you have a dishcloth that is half of it will show this side and half will show this side. And I think that's a really fun idea, especially if you use different colors for the 2 halves. So it was one of the suggestions from somebody in my Ravelry group. And I think it's a fun pattern, and I will knit at least 1, maybe I'll even do 2, because I really think it's a fun pattern, and I'd like to use up several of the colors that I have. So that's one. And then the other knit along is the Optic Blanket, and at the moment I'm not just knitting the Optic Blanket, but also the Optic cushion or pillow cover. I think I'll start with the blanket today. I've only managed to do 1 of the squares that was missing in this 9 square. And this is the one that I put in. This is the leftover yarn from the little dragon that sits over here. And it doesn't have a lot of blue in it, but it has a little blue in it. And I was trying to use yarns, different opal DK weight sock yarns with blue in them. Oh, it's not just opal, it's also some regia yarn in this square. So yeah, I picked this color, and I think I have one more color at home that has blue in it that I can put in this corner, and then this will be done because my plan is to do these 9 squares. This is the third one, and then the next one is supposed to have single colors as contrast colors, so not a colorful yarn. So that should be fun. I want to use all the neon colors that Opal is doing, and that should be fun. And then once I have knit 6 of these 9 squares, I will sew them together and have a blanket. And because I wanted to show how I sew these squares together, but it's difficult to show on the black, I knit those 4 little squares in white and blue, and I made a video showing how I sewed these together, and the video is finished. So I undid the seams that I did for the video because I used a contrast color for the video, and so I picked that out and I sewed them together properly, and I picked up stitches all around this big square, and I'm going to knit a huge big square on this side, and before I finish it I will put the pillow in, and then I will finish knitting it, and then I'll have a nice cushion cover with a cushion in it. And if it needs to be washed, I'm just going to wash the whole thing, so that's why I didn't put a zipper in or something like that. And the other thing I did for this side, white was my main color, and the blue opal sock yarn DK weight was the contrast color, but I decided for the back of it I'm going to switch that around. So on this side the blue is the main color. I can't really tell yet, but the blue is going to be the main color. So those lines that you see here, they'll be blue or white or gray or whatever is in this yarn, and the white will just be the contrast color in between. Yeah, so I was quite happy to have continued on that. And yeah, so that was everything I knit and crocheted last week. I just wanted to show you some, just a little something that has come into my shop last week and the week before, and that's something by the company called Hansa Farm. If you've watched my videos before, you may have noticed that I sometimes knit or crochet with alpaca yarn by Hansa Farm. It's a small family-run business in Hamburg in Germany, and they work closely together with the people in Peru, and that's where they get their alpaca yarn. And usually I sell just the yarn and I knit and crochet with their yarn, but I've now found out that they sell these little toy alpacas. They're really small, they're very sweet, and they are being handmade by single moms who are able to have an income by working in this for this company, and all the money that they make by selling these alpacas is donated for a children's home, for an orphanage in Peru. So when I found out about that, I ordered some of these alpacas and very quickly sold the ones that I had ordered. So I ordered some more, and right now you can only order those 3 colors, but they are working on many other colors. And if you go to their website, hansafarm.com, it's linked down below. You can see all the colors that they're planning or that they've made before and that they're still working on. And as soon as they are available, I will order them for my shop and I will show you. But I checked before I started filming, and they also ship their things overseas, or most places, maybe not every country, but most countries. And so if you want your own little alpaca made out of baby alpaca yarn and you want to help a good cause, then you can do that. So at the moment it's the white, the brown and the green alpaca, and I think they're so sweet, and they're really soft and yeah, just lovely. yeah, so that is everything I wanted to show you and I wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!